Hi there, I'm Timothy Linsdau, video producer, Christian, and I also live on the U.S.-Mexican border. Right now, there's not a lot going on right at the border this side, but most of it's going on in Tijuana, and it has to do with what our government's doing and what Mexico's government is doing. So we'll take a look at that today. Like and comment on my video and subscribe to support my channel if you would. Thank you. So what's going on down there around the border and in Tijuana? Unfortunately, I suppose some people would say that Mexico is getting its just desserts for not improving their immigration issues down there. Maybe they are, but now they're overwhelmed just the same as the Americans are overwhelmed with immigration coming out of Central America. A lot of it's Guatemala, Honduras. Out of all of this discussion and political war going on, I don't ever hear anybody saying anything about what's really going on in these countries people are leaving. I mean, you get bits and clips, but, my word, this is the strongest country in the world with the most influence and contacts around the world. And, I don't know, maybe there's nothing we can do about that mess. It's like a refugee flood from a war. When I can imagine what it would have been like in World War II or something like that. And also the cartels. Probably the most successful business south of the border there is. And they've taken up, not that I'm saying it's good, but they're pretty savvy with money. They now, what period and why they decided to get involved in a quasi-travel agency, I don't know. But they set up even express buses, locations on the border. They charge these people a certain amount. They put them on the bus. They actually took care of them in some way, made the stops and food they needed to get to the border area. And then they would have like ranchos or different places along the border. They would put these people. And then all at once they would flood across the border claiming asylum. Well, our law says anybody that claims asylum is given a chance for a hearing and so forth. But in a normal condition, those people are then generally released into the population and given a court date. Now, in the past, it's always been a bit of a joke that from customs agents I've spoken to and others that these people are not coming back for their court date, which means that we have a lot of illegal immigrants, undocumented people, whatever words you want to use, in the country floating around that anybody that don't even know where they're at or what they're doing. But anyway, there are so many political arguments and wrangling over this stuff that you get nowhere. And either because politicians are taking advantage of it for their votes, whatever it is, either side doesn't seem to succeed in anything. The president's more on a war footing with the border, trying to decide what to do. So basically, he's closed down the asylums coming over. Asylees is the word you should use, claiming asylum. Trying to get control of the border. And also what's happened is that the president of Mexico has stopped funding these refugee places along the border. So now in Tijuana, that's starting to run into a big problem. It says migrant shelters feel pinch after loss of funding. Approximately 25 shelters in Tijuana are stretched to the limit, and because they're not getting any more money. The National Institute of Migration for Mexico last week said there were approximately 10,000 asylum seekers waiting in Baja California for immigration proceedings. That 10,000 almost sounds small to me, but okay, that's the number they came up with. So they're looking for help, as these centers they had are full. They're not getting any supports, which means they're probably running out of food and everything else you can imagine. So some churches are being asked. A pastor, Albert Rivera, of the Agape Mission Mundial in Tijuana, some type of a church, I guess, is trying to help out, and they're being overrun also. So this, with politicians in the U.S. not solving their immigration issues, but from what I understand, we have a system that's been set up for a certain amount of people. When you get a flood of people like this, for whatever reason, cartels shipping people over, the cartels just care about money from what I can see. So if they have an opportunity for loads of people to start handing them money and they're not really harming anybody, that's a new road for them. And so they're packing them on buses and they're pouring into the border. And of course people are dying still trying to cross that border for one reason or another. Either they get sick from groups of people packed together, not maybe immunized well or whatever, but you get large groups of people together, it's open for transmission of disease. That's happened. Children have died from different sicknesses. Everything becomes overwhelmed. Even this great country with so many resources becoming overwhelmed. So they're basically just shutting everything down, saying let's try to get control of it. Trying to find some information here from the paper. They're said migrants are being returned more quickly after the Trump administration stops them at the border, stops asylum claims, and basically just sends them back. So it's like putting up a dam in a river, and the river is backing up, and it's becoming a huge mess. They got hundreds of people. They even the migrants are even getting together in groups trying to solve their own issues about who and when people can meet and come over. I guess from what I've read in the past, some lawyers are trying to help people for court cases. All a lawyer can do is meet with the person, tell them probably what they're in for, but a lawyer cannot go in with a migrant into the court proceedings. So that's between that person and the judge. And, unless somebody has some really solid documents with them, really nobody knows anything. I've been told by border agents that anybody can come into the customs agents with a child in hand. They don't really know if that child is theirs. They don't know if the child's being trafficked, who these people are, anything about them, because a lot of them have just gotten out of there by the skin of their teeth. And they've got nothing, so they're piled up in tents and warehouses, basically, is what's going on. But God bless the churches in San Diego. There's numbers of them that are involved in trying to help one way or another. Some have even donated buses and food and numerous things to try to help out while the government's tied up. Again, Mexico has stopped all support for these organizations or shelters, and one of the reasons the president of Mexico has said that the nonprofits are misusing the money. I don't know if they are or aren't. I'm not sure that any reporter or any politician knows that. Pour a lot of money into something, a lot of unscrupulous people will find a way to get a hold of it. And sad stuff happens. So here on the border again we go. Even if on this side we really are not seeing any rush over the border in this area is heavily guarded. Even at night when you look down from my house, you can see lights on the hills. The border's been lit in this area for years. And it's probably the most patrolled piece of real estate in the world. And so we're not seeing a lot of what's going on because everything's being pushed back into Mexico. And that's the challenge. One side says one thing, one side says the other, and we're back right where we've always been with nothing solved, nothing fixed. I did see in the paper that even Somali immigrants had showed up down there. They not only don't speak English, they don't speak Spanish, so they've got to find somebody to communicate with them. If they start saying that you can just walk into the U.S. by being an asylee, no problem, what do you think the rest of the world is going to do in these third world difficult places? And that's just what we've got, a rush on our border. It's a sad situation. Hopefully, our politicians can actually seek to help somebody rather than seek to help themselves. And that goes for all sides that I've seen. So, on it goes. Like and comment on my videos, subscribe to support my channel. And even in these tough times, you get out there and make it a great day.